Welcome back to Jim's Well Done Guitars. I'm Jim Fusco, and we have another episode of the Guitar Bucket List for you. And today, it's a big one. This one right here is my Gibson Les Paul Standard. It's actually a Les Paul Standard 60s. This one here is from 2019. This was after they kind of revamped the company and had basically brought things back to the way that they were, or at least that people thought that they were at one point or another. And the thing is that like everybody, I think, every artist, especially ones that write original songs and want to play out and things like that, they want to have like their signature guitar or their signature instrument. And it's difficult because so many famous artists have kind of claimed things for their own. Like for instance, I really love using my Rickenbacker 12 string. We'll get to that on one of our episodes here. But that's George Harrison's model that I have, and I like playing the music of Roger McGuinn, like that style. And then there's the Tommy Thayer blue sparkle guitar that I love so dearly over here. That obviously has been taken. It's an artist's model. There's so many that have already been spoken for. So it's really difficult to try to find one that is you and that not only has that look, but is the guitar that you like to play the most. And when I saw this one online, it actually kind of completed a long journey for me. Before I could even think about paying Gibson prices for anything, I saw a Honeyburst Les Paul Studio, I believe it was. It was like slightly under $1,000. It was pretty much like the cheapest Gibson you could get at the time that was USA made. And I really loved it. It had like a satin finish. It was just a really nice look. That's still something I'd like to get someday. So spoiler alert to my spouse. I had thought about it. And then once I remembered that, I started to just kind of like get a little obsessive about it and think like, geez, this might be an opportunity for me to check off something in my mind. At the time, I kind of forgot about the fact that it was a Honeyburst and that it was a studio. I just knew that it was a specific look that I always really loved. And it's something about this like amber, this kind of yellowy amber look to it. And that I came across this model, this Les Paul Standard, which I didn't have a Les Paul Standard. I had a Les Paul Classic, as we know, but I didn't have that model, the go-to standard model. And I really wanted it, but I'm not a huge fan of bigger necks on the guitars. I like the slim taper 60s neck. So that started to kind of funnel things through. And then I found this one. Actually, I think my brother might have found this one on the Gear Exchange through Sweetwater. And it was a really good price. So I made an offer on it. I thought it was really unique looking because of the way that the light kind of hits it. And I don't know if you're going to get that effect here. I'm going to try to do this from a couple different angles here to kind of show you what I'm seeing here. But it's got this kind of unique streaks going on here that you can kind of see. There's like a light streak or dark, light, dark, light, dark, light again. And it's just really unique. I've never seen anything quite like it before. And so I really thought it was a cool choice and decided to get it. And the guy that sold it to me, he said that, it was basically like new, really had no issues with it at all. And so I bought it, got it in, and then immediately noticed a couple of things that didn't make it so new. So I looked at it and noticed that the first thing was that the screws on the bridge pickup ring were smaller than the screws on the neck pickup ring. I thought, that's a little curious. So I decided to take the strings off, open the thing up, and sure enough, notice that this is not the original bridge pickup. Funny enough, has been replaced with the same bridge pickup that it would have had originally. These are, I believe they're called 61 Burstbucker pickups. And so this is the the treble or lead version of that pickup in here. But the date of the pickup actually is later than this guitar was made. Now I know that, you know, the neck could have been stamped at an earlier date and whatnot, but you could tell when you flipped it around to the back, it had like a ding back here. And then when I opened up the pickup cavity in the back, there was a burn mark on the inside of the pickup, or of the cavity, clearly from when somebody rested a soldering iron on it. And the solder on that bridge pickup to the pot was just a mess, right? It was just kind of all over the place. So I knew that something had been changed. I think the capacitors were changed as well. I think they were actually upgraded in here as well. So that was a little disappointing. So I wrote back and ended up getting a little bit of extra money off of it. But that really wasn't the point. It was kind of disappointing because, you know, this was gonna be my guitar, you know, like my kind of one, my signature one, because no one has one that looks exactly like this. And it's got this perfect feeling neck that I love to play, and just the frets are like, I don't know if you would call them fretless wonder. They're probably a little taller than that, but they kind of feel like that fretless wonder, not really even there. I love super low frets like that. I feel like I'm the only one, and I would love to hear from anybody else if they're in that same camp. The taller frets, I feel like every time I must push the strings down hard because I feel like I put myself out of tune. It kind of bends almost when I push down and make chords on those. So for me, this kind of setup is really great. The other thing that was kind of interesting about this particular guitar was it had a couple of impressions on the front that you can't really see unless you look at it in the light just right. Where it's like a circular one right about here, right below the bridge post, and then two over on the heel butt of the guitar, right around the strap button. They're not like, how do I put this? They're not like dents or dings or anything like that. More like lacquer impressions is the best way to put it. And so I did a little research after I had noticed on the inside of the case, there was these lines in the top of the case, and I couldn't tell why. The lines were kind of around like this region here above the pickups. And so then it hit me once I kind of saw that someone had put a Bigsby unit on this, but one of those ones that just kind of rests on the top and kind of hooks onto the bridge post, and then kind of secures down here using the strap button. And I realized that they didn't have to drill anything in, but since they must have put it on and probably replaced the bridge pickup to make it maybe something twangier or hotter or something like that, but they must have put that on so fresh to when the lacquer was new that it just made these impressions in the lacquer. So, you know, once and even there's some top wrap marks here where they top wrapped this bridge. So this guitar has seen some things in its 4 years of life. But none the worse for wear. I mean, it's in really great shape otherwise. I've got it back to normal. I replaced some of the parts. There was a different switch tip on here for some reason. But they included some of the stuff in the case. So one thing I'll say about this particular model is it is like a dust magnet. It's got that static thing that Gibsons from this time have. I could not get the buzzing to stop in here. I had to get shielding tape and put it all on the inside of each of the back cavities. That actually did the trick, and soldering like a ground wire to the shielding tape really did it. And now this thing doesn't buzz anymore, especially like it did. I had to set it up a few times, really play around with the action and everything. It's pretty low at this point in terms of the bridge height. But the action is extremely low, the neck is nice and straight now, and it just plays wonderfully. So what ones does this check off of the bucket list? Well, there are three. First of all, it's a 60s Les Paul. I wanted that 60s style Les Paul Standard, obviously early 60s before they converted over to the SG. But I wanted that style with the slim taper neck, and this thing delivers. The other thing is it has a non-weight relieved body, and all things considered, even though it's not weight relieved, it's really not that heavy. Actually, I don't know for sure, but at least in terms of feel, it feels lighter than my weight-relieved Les Paul Classic from a few years earlier, which is kind of funny. And then the last thing is the flame maple top. I didn't have one with an actual flame maple top. I have ones with veneers on it. But to get the real deal flame maple top, I think they were calling them AA flame maple. And whether or not you like this, or whether you like more pinstripey or more wavy, I just really love the color on this one. I love the gradient and just how it's so unique, and it's just a combination of plain and flamed, and just so cool. And the way that it glistens up here under the bright lights when I kind of hold it up this way, I just really love the look at it, and just kind of marvel at it every time I see it up there. So isn't that the hallmark of a good looking axe for your collection? So we'll get to a quick playing demo, but this right here is my Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. Okay, the Les Paul Standard 60s. Can't get any more standard than this. 2 humbuckers, 2 volume knobs, 2 tone knobs, and a 3-way switch. So let's start in the neck position. And then in the middle, and in the bridge. And if you really want to hear how this thing plays, and it plays wonderfully, take a listen to my song In Control. I did a music video for it here. You're going to hear the solo in the middle of the song. That was done on this guitar. And again, one of those things where it just makes you feel like a better player. So I hope you enjoyed the Les Paul Standard 60s. I certainly enjoy it. And we'll see you next time on the Guitar Bucket List. The Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s was able to check 3 items off of the Guitar Bucket List, including the Les Paul Standard 60s model, the non-weight relieved body, and the flame maple top. Make sure to check out guitarbucketlist.com for the latest updates.